Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and in this video we're taking a look at the Barricade tubular front fender flares with LED daytime running lights and marker lights fitting 2020 and newer JT Gladiators. If you're looking for additional clearance for larger wheels and tires, more clearance and protection for off-roading, or just some refreshed rugged style, these tubular flares from Barricade are going to be a great choice for your JT. They combine aggressive looks and refreshed lighting into a package that is just at home on the trail as it is on the street. Unlike the factory flares that drop down toward the ground at the outer edges, these tubular flares are going to give you more coverage and more clearance. They're pretty much flat across the top here, with really just the tubes dropping down along the outer edge a little bit. While this makes for a more aggressive rock crawler or Baja racer type of look, it also means that you get more space for larger wheels and tires and for more articulation. These are going to stick close to the more squared off style of your typical stock flares, but they do it in a much more minimalistic way. Since these don't drop down toward the wheel, it just decreases the likelihood of any clearance issues you might encounter. Now, this extra height here is also a boon for long travel suspension. So in addition to larger wheels and tires, if you're running some serious suspension to get that articulation out on the trail, these are going to give you the clearance to do it reliably and comfortably. You're not going to have to worry about puncturing a tire on your fender flares. These are also going to extend out a bit further than your stock flares too, so if you do have those larger wheels and tires, the stance is going to look nice and even, and they're going to protect the body from getting pelted with rocks and debris. Now, included with the flares are some LED lights as well. So these are going to take the place of the bulky and frankly boring stock marker and turn signal lights. They give way to these slim white LEDs in the front for your daytime running lights and these small unobtrusive amber LEDs that function as your turn signal repeaters on the outside. So you don't lose any lighting here, and despite their small size, these are both plenty bright enough for the streets or the trails. Now, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that these are only the front flares we're talking about in this video, but we do of course offer a set of Barricade tubular rear flares to match on our site. So if you want a fully matched set front and rear, which I'm sure you do, I know I would, make sure you check those out as well. Flares like these wouldn't be any good if they can't stand up to the rigors of life on the street or trail. Now, these ones are constructed from 1.5mm thick carbon steel plating up top with 38 by 2.5mm carbon steel tubing. So that's to say, they're pretty tough. That material on its own is nice and strong, but Barricade went ahead and gave everything an epoxy pre-coating, or an E-coat as it's commonly referred to, and then finished everything off with this textured black powder coat for extra durability and a splash of good looks. So everything here is going to be very durable. These should withstand all the abuse that you can throw at them, and they'll be very resistant to rust and corrosion. Plus, those lights again that we were talking about, they're all LED, meaning they should last you a long time too. Pricing for this set is going to come in at about $600, and that does put them on the more affordable side when it comes to a set of flares, especially ones that include lighting. So if you want something that's going to be effective and won't blow out the entire budget, these are going to be a great option for your Gladiator. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 and should take you about 2 hours to complete. Now, you are going to have to run some of this wiring, but everything is pretty much ready to go and plugs right in for you. However, there is a little bit of trimming for the inner plastic fender liners if you still have those, and a little bit of drilling needed to get these fitted as intended. However, none of that is very complicated, definitely something you can accomplish at home. And to show you that process now, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, a clip remover tool, plastic pry tool, a pair of needle nose pliers, scissors or diagonal cutters, 4mm Allen wrench, 10 and 13mm wrenches, 4 and 5mm Allen sockets, 10 and 13mm sockets, and some zip ties.
What's up guys? Today we're installing a set of front fender flares on our Gladiator, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is remove some 10mm bolts that are securing our fender flare. So we have a 10mm bolt here that we need to remove. Inside of this circle cutout, there's a 10mm bolt, however ours is missing. And then right up here, we have another 10mm bolt. So we're gonna take a 10mm socket and pop all of these out. And now we can move back towards the rear of our fender flare and remove this 10mm bolt. Now the last thing to remove is this clip right here. Ours is missing. This is right at the front side of the fender flare through the fender liner. So you would just grab a clip remover tool, get behind it, and pop it out. So now we're ready to remove our fender flare. We're just gonna be pulling straight back on the clips. Now there is a wiring harness right up here, so you wanna make sure that you're not pulling too hard, that you're gonna pull on that harness. Once we pop our fender flare off, we can disconnect that connector. So now we're all ready to pull back on our fender flare to remove it. So now with our flare popped off, we can take a clip remover tool to pop down the clip on our connector. And then we can pull this red tab, push in on the black, disconnect it, and get our fender flare out of there. Now, last thing to do is remove our broken clips. So we'll take a pair of needle nose pliers and get behind it, pinch the two halves of the tab together, and pop it out. So now we can take our new fender flare and we're gonna lift it up onto our two brackets. So the first thing we're gonna do is take our nut plate and slide that up into our fender flare, and then grab our bolt with a lock washer and flat washer and thread that in. And then we'll do that same thing over here. And we're just gonna leave these loose for right now until we get the rest of our hardware installed. Next, we can come to the back side of our fender flare and install another nut plate. We're gonna be using our Allen bolt with a lock washer and flat washer. So we'll slide this behind and thread our bolt through. And same thing as the others, we're gonna leave this loose for now. Next, we can start installing our smaller Allen bolts with lock washer and flat washer through our holes with our flange nut on the back side. Now, once you get higher up here, it's a lot thinner and harder to get your hand in there to hold the nut. So I'm just gonna put it in a 10mm wrench. Now the last one's tucked behind our light here. It's gonna be pretty tough to see. But I've got our nut in the wrench again. Now the last of the hardware we need to install is our bolt with a flat washer through the bottom here. And then we'll get a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on the other end of our bolt. And now that we have all of our hardware installed, we can begin tightening it down. So I've got a 13mm socket and wrench for this guy. Next, we can tighten down the two bolts on our brackets with a 13mm socket. Next, we can come to our larger Allen bolt with the nut plate behind it and tighten that down with a 5mm Allen socket. And now we can tighten down all of our smaller Allen bolts with the 10mm nuts behind them. So we'll grab a 4mm Allen socket and a 10mm wrench to tighten these down. And then you can repeat that same process for the rest of those smaller bolts. And now we just have a couple connections to make up front. We can plug in our marker light. And then we'll be plugging it into our resistor here. We have a black and a yellow wire. Our yellow wire is going to the yellow wire. And now we just have a few more connections to make. First, we'll get our side marker light. And then our last two wires are going to our resistor. There's a black and a yellow, as well as a black and a yellow. Yellow's going to yellow, black's going to black. Next, we can take the connector that's going to our body harness. I'm gonna run it through these wires here, just so that our wires end up a little bit more tucked and out of the way. And then we'll run this back to our connector, push in the red tab, and then push our push clip back into place. Now all we have left to do is clean up our wiring. We have a hole right in this tab right here. So I'm gonna run a zip tie through there. I'm gonna pull all of our wires up over the tab. And then we can take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters to cut off the excess of our zip tie. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Barricade tubular fender flares with LED, DRL, and marker lights for the front of your 2020 and newer Jeep Gladiator JT. Thank you for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.